Hi, everyone. On behalf of OACAC and StriveScan, I would like to thank you for joining us today. Before we get started with the session, I have a few housekeeping items. You are muted and your camera is off during this presentation, so our presenter cannot hear or see you. However, you do have an opportunity to ask questions using the Q&A feature on your screen. As a reminder, you can review this session and sign up for additional sessions on the website. It is oacac.com. And again, we encourage you to utilize that Q&A button on your screen. At this time, I will turn it over to SUNY Maritime College.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. And thank you to the OACAC for having me as well. As explained, I am Ridge Robinson with SUNY Maritime College. I serve here as an undergraduate counselor. I serve the states of Connecticut, Maryland, Virginia, and then Eastern PA, so Philly, Northern PA on the east side. I also cover a number of states in the Midwest. I also cover Westchester County in New York State. So just to give you kind of an idea as to what my coverage is, Ohio is also one of my territories. And just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm actually from Ohio, born and raised in Canton, went to school in Ohio. So nice to be here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint presentation for you. So want to again welcome you to the SUNY Maritime College presentation. Just going to dive right in. So SUNY Maritime College, who are we? We are a SUNY, a state university in New York, located in New York City in the Bronx. We're in a small neighborhood called Throgs Neck, which is right on the East River. And the East River basically intersects Queens, as well as Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Manhattan. So from our college, you can actually see downtown Manhattan, the skyline. We are one of the smallest SUNYs in the state of New York. We are a small school of 1,800 students. We have unique campus lifestyles here. The college is comprised of two different lifestyles. One is called regiment, the other is called civilian. I'm not going to get into too much detail at this moment, but regiment is a lifestyle geared to one of the educational aspects we have. Regiment means you are pursuing a United States Coast Guard license. The regiment is a quasi-military lifestyle on campus. It's not military in the sense that you have to serve. It's military in the sense that the Coast Guard that offers the license is you're following their codes and conducts to obtain the license. The license through the Coast Guard is to work on commercial ships. I'll go into more detail in a second. The opposite lifestyle is civilian. This is a lifestyle for students that want to just earn degrees here, not the license, which is included with degrees, a number of different degrees. Civilian students basically live your normal college student life. They wear normal clothes. They live in mod dorms on campus. They're free to come and go as they please. They basically take courses. In the summertime, they do internships. Regiment differs, and there's a lot of things that go with the regiment. But to move forward, with us being a small school of 1,800 students, typically our class sizes are 15 to 1. That's 15 students to 1 teacher. Average class size is about 21. And that's counting in your large lecture hall style courses, the kind of courses you would take maybe your freshman year gen ed courses like math and English, where you're in like maybe a 50-person class. We tend to keep things small. We want it to be close knit. We want you to have that personal one-on-one facilitation with your instructors. They know you on a name-to-name basis. Of our academics here, 13 nationally recognized programs basically build our educational programs here. 5 of those programs are ABET accredited engineering programs. ABET accreditation is essentially the highest accreditation you can obtain at the bachelor's level for a undergraduate degree. It essentially shows employers that you have the highest level of engineering certification coming out of your bachelor's. In addition to degrees, we offer a number of student clubs and organizations on campus. Students often create their own clubs based around their interests with other students. Things such as ski club, dance club, video game club, chess club, music club, various clubs comprise our college student body. It gives the students outlets to essentially do things outside of their academics. But in addition to that, we also have 13 NCAA Division III varsity sports. Of these, we have men's football, men's baseball, we have men's basketball. Then we go into some co-ed sports. We have co-ed men and women's swimming and diving, men and women's cross country, men and women's soccer, men and women's lacrosse. We have co-ed sailing. We also have crew, men and women's. And then we have some club sports like rugby, rifle. I think I mentioned pretty much everything. If I missed something, you can check our athletic page online. But to move forward, I mentioned professional experiences. So I mentioned regiment and I mentioned civilian. If you're a regimental student, you're pursuing a United States Coast Guard license here. The Coast Guard license comprised of two different types of licenses. These are additional courses to meet the criteria to obtain the license. So typically your average college student takes 120 credit hours. In addition to that, students that pursue a license here are taking an additional 50 to 60 credits. So the average college student that's a regimental cadet here pursuing the Coast Guard license is taking on average 18 to 21 credit hours, where your average college student, your civilian college student, is taking about 12 to 15. So they have, anywhere from, 4 to 6 more classes than, or four to 6 total classes, about 1 to 3 more classes than your average college student. If they're pursuing a deck license here, it essentially is preparing them to work on commercial ships topside. So we're talking the navigation deck, handling navigation, safety, security, inspection, various things topside, with the ship. The other option is the engine license. This is dealing with power and systems, mechanical systems. This is an internal license where you're working internally as an engineer on a commercial vessel. I want to again note the Coast Guard license is for commercial ships. It's not for military. You do not have to serve here. Because of that, we're not a military school, but we have military options, which I'll explain in a second. So deck license, you come out with your third mates. Deck license, you can pursue up to a captain's license with experience and time. Engine license, you come out, a third assistant engineer's license. You can eventually work up to chief engineer on a ship. Now, let's say you don't want to work on ships. You don't want to be on the water. Our civilian students take internships here. Engineering students have to do a minimum of 2. Bachelor of Science degrees have to do a minimum of 1. And these are to get you professional experience. And so internships are a great way to build employer relations. They also help you get valuable skills and knowledge in your field prior to graduating. And we have a career services department that helps set those up, helps assist with the resume process, the interview process, pretty much A to Z process with looking for internships and jobs. So to continue, I mentioned lifestyle. Regiment of cadets is vastly different from being a non-regimental, regular, everyday college student. Regiment of cadets, they have to wear uniforms. If you looked on our website, you would see students wearing khaki uniforms. Those are our regimental cadets. They have to wear those Monday through Friday. If you're a freshman, there's certain garb that you wear in the evening. It's called PT gear. It's basically sweats. Could be shorts, t-shirt in the winter, sweat pants, sweatshirt. But the regiment of cadets typically wear their khakis throughout the day. They do have dress blues that they wear for formal occasions. Regiment is a disciplined lifestyle. It's there to essentially teach these students the discipline they need to work on a commercial vessel. Commercial vessels are very rigorous work environments. They require the students to know a lot of protocol and procedure. The students have to be disciplined to be able to handle any kind of situation, because in a lot of cases, commercial vessels have commercial passengers, so your everyday passengers. So for instance, they could be working on a cruise line, and you have everything from the captain to the crew to the tourists on the ship. You have to make sure that everybody is safe. There are certain things that you have to be able to know how to do. It's there to develop leadership, teamwork, time management, problem-solving skills. They wear uniforms, but they're not part of the military. They are restricted to campus Monday through Friday. So if you're in the Regiment of Cadets, you actually cannot leave campus until after your last class on Friday, at which point you would return Sunday evening before your first class, or morning formation on Monday. So morning formation is a debriefing session every morning that the cadets attend at around 7 o'clock, lasts about 15 to 30 minutes, and then they are released. Throughout the day, though, they'll have regimental activities that they'll have to do. And throughout the day, they'll have ship watch. It can be on the weekdays or weekends. They typically rotate. Students will have maybe 1 or 2 of those a month. In addition to that, they have firefighting training. They do diving and swimming training. They have all sorts of training to prepare them to work on commercial ships. Non-regiment civilian, your traditional college experience, it comprises about 30% of our student body. They live in a mod style dorm, whereas the regimental cadets are actually in cadet dorms. The regimental cadet dorms are shared living, which means that they are in charge of, the floor is in charge of the bathroom. They get their rooms inspected. They have to have things neat and orderly. Non-regiment, the students have mods. So it might be like a quad style living where they have a shared bathroom amongst maybe 4 student rooms, and they're in charge of that. But those dorms also have AC, and various amenities, and a little bit more freedom than the regimental students have. So just to illustrate, those are some of the biggest differences. It takes a certain student to be in the regiment cadets. What brings our civilian students here, though, is our degrees and our options, which is another thing I want to emphasize. So you'll see here, you have 3 options at the top: deck, intern, engine. Essentially, you can go deck or engine into regiment. You can go intern into regiment. You could actually be in the regiment and not pursue a Coast Guard license. You could just do it as optional to have that lifestyle, that disciplined lifestyle. But you could essentially just do the land-based activities and not be on the ship, not do the training, not take the additional courses. So it depends on what your options are. One thing that I don't have on here, we do have an NROTC, which covers Navy and Marine Corps primarily. We have one of the largest NROTCs in the state of New York. The NROTC, is essentially to serve the reserves and to serve active duty enlistment. We do have a shared program between us, Fordham, Malloy, and Columbia. Because of that, there's opportunities for students to pursue Army through the NROTC and also flight school. And we've had students go all sorts of options, but Navy and Marine Corps tend to be our largest. There are scholarships available for that as well, which I can go into in a little bit. Before I go into the degrees, I just want to double check and make sure that I don't have any questions. So I am just going to double check here. Just want to see. Let's see here. Just a moment. So no questions. I'm going to go right back. So to move on, to emphasize our degrees here, I mentioned we had 5 ABET accredited engineering degrees. These are the 5. We have electrical, facilities, marine engineering, mechanical engineering, and naval arc. You'll notice that there is a slot for deck license, there's a slot for engine license, and there's a slot for intern opportunities as a civilian. You'll notice that certain degrees have both as well as intern, both licenses as well as intern. You'll notice that some have 1 license and intern. You'll notice that one has only 1 license, no intern. So Typically, this is because of what the engineering degrees are geared towards. Electrical and naval arc have application to land and sea, internal and topside. So that's why they have the deck engine and intern option. You'll notice that like facilities, marine, and mechanical are geared towards engine license only. And you'll notice that marine doesn't have an intern option. Marine is very ship specific. It's specifically for internal on working on ships. So it's an engineering geared towards actually working for commercial vessels being on the water. Facilities and mechanical though do have land based opportunities. Facilities is more of like construction, but ships have various components internally that are very similar to building internals. So that's why there's that correlation. Mechanical as well is more internal, but it does have application on land. One thing to note, electrical and mechanical can be double majored. They are very similar in curriculum up until about your junior, senior year. The curriculum's closely aligned that you could still graduate in 4 years with those. It's not possible to combine anything else as a double. So moving on, electrical deals more with the electrical side of ships and land. Naval Arc is a very unique program that we offer. It actually deals with building ships from the hull up all the way to the control deck. It's one of the reasons why there's all the options, deck, engine, and intern. You can be working in shipyards as well as working on ships, making sure they're running properly. Naval Arc is our most unique degree that we offer here. We are 1 in 6 colleges in the country that have naval architecture. So you'll find the other 4 at other colleges. Naval Arc is our most unique. We are grounded in the physical engineerings. These are bachelors of engineering because they are schematic and design oriented. They are focused on hands-on skills. We are a very hands-on, training experience type of college. So everything you do here is very physical in nature through the engineering programs. To move on, we have Bachelors of Science for those that aren't pursuing engineering degrees. The 3 areas that we have degrees in is humanities, science, and business. You'll notice that there are 5 degrees here. International Transportation and Trade is a global business degree. It has a 4-year bachelor's, but there's also a fast track 5-year bachelor's to master's program because we actually have a master's program that builds off of it, International Transportation Management. So there is the option there to do that. Marine Environmental Science is our science degree. It deals with water research, how it affects plant and animal life. Marine Operations and Marine Transportation are 2 business degrees. And then Maritime Studies is our humanities. It's more of liberal arts, focusing on history, policy, the arts, media, all types of things that have kind of encircled maritime marine life, but from more of a liberal arts, art, media standpoint. So to give you an idea, international transportation and trade, you can work for any kind of business that transports goods internationally. 99% of goods are transported on water. So that degree, you have a lot of application. PepsiCo is a large employer that we've worked with countlessly. Marine environmental science is for somebody that wants to work for research centers on land or work on the water as a researcher on a research vessel. It's one of the reasons why marine environmental science has the deck license, so you can work on research vessels. That also has the intern option. Business-wise, marine operations, marine transportation is ship-centric. Marine operations deals with handling large-scale operations of fleets of vessels, whereas marine transportation is more A to Z pipeline of shipping. Marine operations is the most, I'd say, unique degree from a license standpoint we offer because it's the only non-engineering degree that has the engine license. So with the engine license in this degree, you could actually be an engineer on a ship and work on land in business in the maritime industry and also work for power plants as an engineer because the engine license has correlation to facilities. Marine transportation is more topside though. Generally speaking, students pursue that if they want to be in the deck working towards captain's license someday. And then maritime studies has the deck license as well. It's more for students that want to do policy making or law or work as a curator or historian. Law school is typically a route that a lot of maritime studies students go. There also is a master's program that builds off of this. Maritime and naval studies. So we have a couple masters that pair with that. International transportation and trade recently got the deck license. With the bachelor's, the master's, it's a really appealing degree now because deck license essentially ensures that you can work on any kind of commercial vessel from a topside standpoint. And then you'll notice ITT, Marine Environmental Science, and Maritime Studies have that land option because there are land opportunities there. So marine operations, marine transportation is ship specific. You'll also see that we have an associate's in applied science. This is a 2-year degree that prepares you for small vessel operations. So all of the degrees that I've showed you previously, they are for unlimited licensed vessels. If you pursue a United States Coast Guard license with the bachelor's, an unlimited license means you can work on any tonnage size ship. So that can be a cargo ship, freighter, cruise liner. This is more for yachts, tugs, and ferries, primarily tugs. Our unlimited licensed students can work on any size, so big to small. This is strictly for small, and it's license specific. You have to do deck or engine, and that's to work, as a captain on a tugboat or internally making sure the tugboat's operating correctly. I want to note that students do sometimes come in this degree and then they decide they want to transfer into a 4-year. It's possible. And it can be a good route for you. This does have lower academic standards than our bachelor's, which I'll get into in a second. And this degree can be a great option, though, if you plan on working for, let's say, the Hornblower ferries here in New York City, or a ferry in general in your local area, like Cleveland. If they have a ferry, you could work on Lake Erie, for example. There are shipping businesses on Lake Erie. So any small types of vessels, you could actually take this degree and work there up in Cleveland. We have alumni up there. So just to give you an idea, it's not just working on the ocean. There's a lot of Great Lakes where there's business opportunities. There are employment opportunities. It can be really lucrative. Masters of Science, I mentioned ITM is an extension of our International Transportation and Trade. We have the deck license with that and an intern option. There's a 5-year International Transportation and Trade to International Transportation Management degree. So you can get your bachelor's and master's in 5. And then there's also Maritime and Naval Studies for someone that's Maritime Studies and wants to continue and get their master's, further their education. The deck license is available. And the deck license is more for students that are coming from another college, getting their master's here, and they want to get their license so they can work on commercial ships. These also are available on campus and online, so they are a bit more flexible. Online, though, is strictly intern civilian. So if you're going to do the license, you have to be on campus. I've mentioned regiment cadets. I've mentioned all the land things they do. I've mentioned some of the things they do on the water. One of the biggest things they do in the summer is go on summer sea term. This is a cruise where they actually work on our training vessel. Our training vessel is the Empire State 6. It is over 20 years old, so it is nearing the end of its life cycle. We actually have a new vessel coming in 2023. We have state funding. It's going to be a multi-million-dollar vessel, larger than this ship. It's going to have state-of-the-art facilities. What they do in the summer is they go out on cruise. The students have to have 180 days of sea time in order to obtain their license. It's one of the requirements in addition to courses. When they are on summer sea term, they are working on the ship, essentially learning the roles that they'll play on a commercial vessel. They're also taking classes on the ship. And then an added bonus is that the ship ports in various docks. The ship, as it's gotten older, we've stuck to more domestic ports, whereas in the past, we've gone more international, places like Mallorca, Portugal, various international ports, over in Europe. The new ship is going to expand where we can go. As of last year, we stuck more stateside, which gave the students, the deck students, great advantages, learning how to port narrow ports, basically like New York City, Maryland, Baltimore, Charleston, South Carolina, New Orleans. They learned how to travel narrow waters, which typically if you're going to Europe, not as difficult. So I think it was a good learning experience for them. They did stop in Reykjavik, Iceland, which was a really cool aspect of last year's cruise. We're looking to expand where we can go though once we get a new ship. Um, there are videos online on YouTube, student made, that showcase cruise, showcase where the students are, and really give you an idea as to what they're doing during summer cruise. This is also an additional semester in the summer. I just want to note that they essentially go year round if they are in the regiment and they are pursuing a Coast Guard license. So it is a very serious commitment here. But I think the biggest factor here is that the students are getting jobs when they graduate. So internships, are a huge part of the civilian learning experience here. As I mentioned, 2 for engineering. The students have to do 2 for engineering, and for Bachelors of Science, they have to do 1. These are some of the places that they've gotten internships with. So Military Sea Lift Command hires our engineering students. It's essentially refueling military ships. They work for commercial vessels that bring goods, bring fuel, various things. We've had students work for Port Authority in New York, New Jersey. Marine environmental science students have worked for sea turtle recovery. They worked for NOAA, which is National Oceanographic Atmospheric Association. We've had electrical engineering students work for Con Ed. We've had various business students work for Kirby Inland Marine, Maersk Line Limited. We've had Naval Arc students work in Norfolk Naval Shipyard. Engineering students work for Horizon Engineering, PepsiCo with our International Transportation and Trade. And then the last one, Williams Mystic Research Program. It actually is a research program, research entity through Maritime Studies. This is a unique experience. The students that do this actually get to go on the last wooden sailing ship. They learn about history. They read literature related to the ocean, the sea. They basically learn all about maritime history. And it's a really awesome cultural experience. They go abroad, they study abroad with that. These are opportunities for the civilian students. The cadets, if they go on summer cruise, but their junior year, they actually have an opportunity to do what's called cadet shipping, where they can actually get a billet to work for a commercial ship as a student. A lot of times they get paid. And they're working alongside real working professionals in the maritime industry. Part of this cadet shipping is a project they have to do over the summer, and it's due early in the fall, that basically details their experience. Cadet shipping is another way that our regimental cadets get real world experience outside of our training ship for a year, and it really enhances their ability to get jobs. So it's a unique aspect, but both civilian and regiment have opportunities. I mentioned our career services department. They assist with these internships. They also assist with bringing employers on campus for both regimental and civilian. It gives the students the opportunity to actually meet employers, go through interview processes, essentially build relationships with employers from their junior and senior year. It's one of the reasons why our school has over a 90% placement rating, which means students here are getting job offers by the time they're either graduating or shortly thereafter within 3 months. I would say the majority of students, though, are hired before they graduate. To my knowledge, in the last few years that I've been in admissions, we've had student ambassadors that are students that work in the admissions office. Those students have all had jobs prior to leaving. To give you an example of salary, Bachelors of Science students, they can make anywhere from 50 to 70K, depending on if they're working on land or on ships. Engineers from land, you can make anywhere from 65 to almost 90K right out of the gate. If they're working on ships, though, they can make over 100K. The average ship-based engineer makes about 140K. So engineering tends to be our bread and butter. It's our most sought after. But all of the programs here have lucrative career paths. We have various opportunities that, essentially open up a lot of different pathways for the students. There's no like one size fits all career path here. You can work on ships, you can work on land. For students that are NROTC, they can serve in the military, and then when they're done, they can work on land work at sea. So there's a lot of different ways to get into different industries that are maritime related. There's a lot of avenues, and I think we have a lot of options and a lot of things to offer. So just to continue, I think the biggest thing is fall application information. We have 2 application deadlines. One is early decision deadline. This is for someone that knows they want to attend our college. It's a binding application. It basically means you're not attending anywhere else. You're not applying to any other colleges. You know this is where you want to go. And the perk of this is that you will get an admissions decision after you apply by November 1st. You'll get an admissions decision typically by Christmas or around Christmas, around the new year. Whereas a regular decision applicant has to wait, essentially the last half of December and all of January into early February. They'll get a decision in early February about their acceptance or denial here. So, but the perk to regular decision is that you can see multiple colleges, see financial aid, see scholarship opportunities. It gives you some wiggle room. You don't have to make a decision as a regular decision deadline student until May 1st. So you can get accepted in February here, be accepted other places, and then you get financial aid into essentially the month of March. You can see the full picture. But some students know this is exactly where they want to go. They know that Maritime, is the school for them. And the applications for these have already opened up as of August 1st, 2020. To move on to the application process, you can apply through SUNY or you can apply through the Common App. Typically we see Common App is the most common, not to be punny or play on words, but Common App is the most intuitive because everything's included. So supplemental questions and common application essay are combined into the Common App, whereas SUNY is more compartmentalized and you add things on an individual basis. It's easy to miss and overlook something. So a lot of high school counselors tend to stick with common application. We want to see your high school transcripts, especially this year, this academic year, going into next academic year. So fall 2021, fall 2022, we are test optional from an SAT, ACT standpoint. In the past, we've looked at transcripts from your high school, as well as your test scores from SAT or ACT. This year, we're only going to be looking at the high school transcripts as a requirement. You can still submit an SAT or ACT if you think it will help your chances of being accepted. We also need to see one letter of recommendation. This has to come from an instructor, so a teacher, counselor at your high school, or it could even be a coach, someone that can speak to you as a student or student athlete. We want to know who you are, what you're like as a student, because here fit matters. So we really look at the whole picture. We look at your essay. We want to know a lot of times why Maritime. So I would say if you're going to do an essay, try to focus it on the colleges you're applying to. Do one individually for each school. And that's my little tip for you for, whether you're applying here or another college. Showcase why each school fits, why it's the place you want to go, why it's an option for you, or if you're going early decision, why this is where you want to be. Now, admissions requirements, you'll see this and you'll think, oh man, those are kind of high. These actually are the averages from last 2019 freshman accepted class. So the average GPA for engineering was about a 90, average SAT was about a 1240, average ACT was a 26. The only hard requirement here is that students coming into an engineering degree from high school have to have taken pre-calc. We need to see pre-calc in order to even consider you for an engineering program. Typically for engineering, we're seeing about an 88 plus high school average. I would say we're looking for 88 plus from an admission standpoint. SAT, we want to see about a 1200 plus. ACT, I'd say about a 24 to 25 plus. So if you're in that range, you're definitely a viable candidate for our engineering programs. If you're a little bit below what I just said, still apply because the whole picture does matter. Let's say you got an 87 high school GPA or a 1180 SAT definitely apply still. It doesn't mean you're not going to get accepted. It just means, we want to see, why this would be a good fit for you. Fit and your academics matter. This is a very tough school from an academic standpoint. And so, we just want to know that this is going to be the right place for you. It's not going to be too intense, too hard for you. We want to make sure that we have the right person coming in and that you're going to have a good experience. Bachelor's of Science, also high, 88 average, 1190 SAT, 25 ACT, but I would say that's closer to 85 plus. About 1100 plus is what we're looking for, and about a 23 plus for ACT. So, what we're looking for is a little bit lower than what these averages are, but I think it just speaks to the student base that we get year after year. They tend to exceed our expectations from an admissions standpoint. So, they're doing better academically coming out of high school than what we actually accept, which I think is great. Another thing to note, transfer profile. The average student's a 3.0. You might be wondering, why am I bringing up transfer? Transfer is a viable option. Let's say you don't get accepted coming out of high school. It doesn't mean that you cannot attend here. We have a lot of students that transfer in. They pursue local community college, to earn classes, or they go to another state school and they end up transferring in after their first year. All you have to do is make sure that you're taking calculus if you're trying to transfer into an engineering program, or take pre-calculus if you're trying to come into a Bachelor's of Science. We want to see about a 2.5 GPA. That's about the minimum. So, and then 15 credits. So we're talking 5 3-credit hour classes, with one of them being pre-calc or calc. Calc for engineering, pre-calc for Bachelor's of Science. So business, science, humanities. And we do have a lot of transfers. Transfers make up a portion of the school. We're seeing influx of transfers year after year. It is a very viable option. Some students, they're just not ready coming out of high school, but then they take the year at another school and transfer in, and they're ready to go here. And a lot of students can still finish in about 4.5 years, by transferring in. So it can be a great option for them. Scholarships. I'm going to touch on this briefly. Admissions offers their own internal scholarships. These are alumni donated. We essentially have different criteria yearly. And so we're looking at the overall scores, high school transcripts essentially this year, to see what overall averages, to determine who meets criteria. But then there's also individual things on your application that could land you into one of these scholarships. The Excelsior Scholarship is a New York State specific scholarship, so it wouldn't really apply to an Ohio student. You would have to be a resident of New York. Same with New York State STEM. It's also related to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics related high schools. But there are external scholarships, state to state. I know, for example, Maryland and Virginia have organizing bodies that have scholarships that they offer related to maritime and marine. And if the state if they don't get applicants from their individual state, they tend to open it up countrywide. So it's possible for an Ohio student to apply for some of these maritime and marine specific scholarships to help pay for school. There also are scholarships available for summer crews through the college. Money becomes available as the academic year turns. We go through fall and spring. We essentially are, notifying students of those opportunities. They apply for those much like they apply for a college application, maybe transcripts, most current essay, maybe a letter of rec from a teacher on college campus, to talk about who they are as a maritime student. These are, viable options. We do let you know external scholarships you can apply for. And then admissions, we actually go through the process of determining who's applicable. After you're accepted here, you'll receive financial aid as well as scholarship information. So we give you the whole package. You'll have it by, I would say, early March. And then you have, March and April then to essentially weigh your options if you're regular decision. If you're early decision, you're locked in. But, you can still talk to financial aid about options if funding is an issue. So, we want to make sure that everything is a good fit for you and you're ready to go, and that, we're doing everything we can do to help you out. This is also a breakdown of cost. It's essentially my last slide. Just to give you an example, we have New York State tuition, which for a civilian student is about 22,000, just over. For a regimental student, it's just over 26,000. Summer cruise for cadets is always to be determined because it depends on the ports. But you can guess about a civilian student would be about 22,000 for New York State, 26,000 for regimental New York State students. What we do for you guys, is we try to put, and you guys aren't actually a part of this, but we do in region for states where we get a lot of interest. Ohio could potentially go on that list if we see interest. About 25K, it goes up in 5K increments for New York State to in region. It's 25K and then 30K for civilian versus regiment. You guys are technically out of region currently, so it's 32,000 for an out of state and 36,000 for regiment. Again, there are scholarships and opportunities, but it's also possible that you could end up in region eventually, and so that could assist with actually lowering costs. So just to give you an idea of cost, that essentially is the PowerPoint. I didn't see that there were any questions. This is our contact information. Feel free to write it down. We have our admissions email, a general phone line. We have our website where you can actually look up my contact information and reach out to me individually at my work phone or through my work email. We do have a Facebook as well as a Instagram and a Twitter account. So if you want to keep up to date on any campus goings, any information that we have, feel free to check these avenues, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. Other than that, that is the presentation. I appreciate anybody that sat through this, anybody that views this later. Looking forward to hearing from you. I am your counselor. Again, my name is Ridge Robinson. I'm more than happy to assist you. So feel free to go to our contact us page, reach out to me and ask me any questions you have. Other than that, you guys have a great day. Have a wonderful weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and hope everything's going well in Ohio. Thank you.
Thank you again to those of you who are able to join us for this session. Once you close this window, a very quick 4-question survey will appear. As a reminder, a recording of this session is available on the website, oacac.org, and you can sign up for additional sessions on the website as well. Thank you all, and we hope you have a great afternoon.